So, welcome back guys. Today we'll talk about building muscle specifically with calisthenics or basically body weight exercises only that you can do at home or at the calisthenics park, right? So I assume with you that most of you are here with the goal of building muscle and having a great physique and not really learning skills. Because this video isn't really about, this video is absolutely not about learning skills like the front lever or planche or whatever. If you want to do that, I'm sorry, you're gonna have to watch someone else. I am going to be purely focused on the building muscle part, building muscle with body weight exercise, okay? So let's get into it, right? So, lesson 1. This might seem counterintuitive, but to build muscle with calisthenics and body weight, you have to train like a bodybuilder. And what I mean by this is doing sets and reps. So basically not doing any EMOM workouts, that's every minute on the minute, not any pyramids or any crazy supersets with low rest time, right? So this is very popular in calisthenics. What people like to do is they like to do these pyramids where they go from, I don't know, 10 pull-ups down to 9, 8, 7, 6, and they do like 20 or 30 seconds rest, 30 or 40 seconds rest in between them. So here's the thing, right? This is amazing if your goal is to get more reps, to get better at the exercise because you're doing it more often, and to be better at the sport of calisthenics itself, right? But if you're here purely for building strength and building muscle, this is not going to cut it for you, okay? You have to train differently. You have to train the same way that if you would train, if you would be at a gym. Basically, the same way that bodybuilders do, right? And that is very simple. So per exercise, you do two or three sets to failure, and you rest 3 minutes in between sets. And then you go again. Basically, do one set to failure, rest 3 minutes, go again, right? If you want to do skills, now I already said this at the intro that I'm not going to be covering skills here, but if you want to do them, if you still want to learn some skill, please do them at the end, right? Because we want to focus most of our energy on building muscle, and at the start of the workout is when we are the freshest. Very simple, right? So to summarize this, do sets and reps. Don't do these EMOMs or pyramid workouts or supersets or with slow rest time or whatever, right? So, quick interruption guys, if you didn't already know, I actually have an online program. It's called Skinny to Jacked Academy. And it's my online community where I teach skinny men how to build muscle efficiently without much equipment and time. And in my program we stick to the basics and I actually focus on what works and what has worked for me, as you can see. And by joining you'll have access to lots of things like one weekly one-on-one coaching call with me where we will discuss your progress, your routines, etc. Also, you can ask me any kind of questions, I'll help you out, no problem. You're gonna get a personalized workout routine and split based on your specific schedule. I'm gonna make this personally for you. Basically, you're gonna show me your schedule and I will craft a split and routine that works for you. It does not matter even if you have twice a week, 20 minutes, it doesn't matter. We can make something work. Also, you're gonna have a forum where you can ask any sort of question and you're gonna get it answered very quickly. I promise that. You also have PDFs with sample stuff like recipes for gaining muscle and example workouts for your level of equipment. Basically, if you train at home with no equipment, if you have a fully equipped gym, or if you have everything, right? So let's get back to the video. Second one, when it comes to body weight, tempo is king. And tempo is the number one thing which you can make the exercise harder by, right? So if you train body weight, at the start it's gonna if you start, you don't really have to do this at the start. So at the start it's gonna be quite hard, right? Dips, pull-ups, push-ups won't feel as easy. But if you progress, you slowly get to a point where you can very easily bang out like 30 plus push-ups, right? And to build muscle more effectively, what you want to do is you make the movement harder. It's also a form of progression, right? And a way to make the movement harder is simply slowing down the negative. So, and holding the bottom position for 1 second. So I'll give you an example, right? On a dip, instead of sort of dropping yourself down, you control the negative so that you have a 1 second negative. Then you pause for 1 second at the bottom position where your muscles are being stretched. And then you can push back up. Now your concentric can be a little bit faster, that's not really a problem, that's fine. But I want to make sure that you slow down the negative so that So in order that you gain more strength and more muscle, right? So remember, tempo is very important if you only have body weight. And even in general, right? Even with gym exercise. So, lesson 3. If there's one equipment that you should buy, if you do body weight or calisthenics, it's rings. Rings are a complete game changer and they're going to change your workout, especially your chest growth, especially your push exercise, right? Because number one, obviously you can do them anywhere. If you don't have a calisthenics park, you can still work out with rings because you can just buy rings, go to your nearest tree and hang them on a tree or some kind of playground thing or whatever. You can literally hang them everywhere and you can do basically every exercise. You can do ring push-ups, dips, pull-ups, inverted rows, uh, leg raises, bicep curls even, right? Second one is rings offer you freedom of movement, and that allows you to get a massive stretch at the bottom and a big contraction at the top. Now this, like I said, this is mostly for the chest. And for your chest, this is a complete game changer because, for example, on a push-up, you can go down, you can go as deep as you want, you can really stretch the pec. And then when you go up, you can bring the rings closer in and you can squeeze it, and you can squeeze it very hard, right? And this motion is actually what the pec is intended to do, right? What your chest is intended to do. And this will be a massive factor and a massive stimulus for your chest, and it will grow like crazy, right? So basically, for pull movements, yes, it's still useful, but for chest movements, it's more useful than for pull movements, right? So for push movements, please get yourself rings. It will change it for you. But also for pull movements, they're still important because they're joint friendly and they're biomechanically optimal. So I already talked in the last video where we talked, or one of my last videos where I talked about training lats, right? I talked about the wide grip pull up and how you should not do it on a straight bar due to wrist injuries and potential shoulder injuries, right? However, if you have rings, you can, because you can hang them and your wrists, your arms and your wrists are naturally going to adjust so that they're in a comfortable position for your specific anatomy, right? And that's why rings are a complete game changer, because you can do exercises that you couldn't do before, right? That you simply could not do before because they would either cause injury or there would be the setup just wouldn't be that great. But with rings it really changes, and with rings you have more options, you know? Also, you can do things like bicep curls, right? You can just type in ring bicep curls after this YouTube video if you like. And you just have way more options and way more potential exercise and stimuli for growth that you can use, right? So if you can, please get yourself rings. Even if it's like a cheap pair of rings for 20 or 30 bucks, trust me, it's worth it, okay? So, lesson 4, stick to the basics, okay? Please don't overcomplicate it, and please don't do all these fancy exercises that you sometimes see on social media. You don't really need them, okay? So I'll tell you what you need right away. So you need any pull-up variation, or basically a few pull-up variations. It depends on how much time you have, right? But any pull-up variation is going to cut it for your back, whether that be wide grip, chin-up, normal pull-ups, neutral grip pull-ups, ring pull-ups, wide ring pull-ups, etc., right? You need to have some kind of pull-up variation if you train calisthenics, because that pull-ups are the most effective way to properly build your back. So next one is dips and push-ups, right? In my opinion, everyone should do the dip because you're pushing 100% of your body weight compared to push-ups, so you're only pushing about 66 or 65% or 60%, I'm not sure, but around 65%, right? Now, if you like push-ups more, you can do push-ups, of course, right? But I would still recommend you to add one dip set per push workout or per upper body workout, depends on what your split is, right? Simply because dips challenge your pushing muscles in a very different way than push-ups, because you're forced to push your whole body weight. So I would recommend having both. Now, if you find push-ups more fun, like I said, you can do mostly push-ups and you can occasionally add one dip set or whatever. But yeah, those two are things that, in my opinion, every calisthenics guy has to do. So next are rows, like basically inverted rows, whether that be close grip, wide grip, whatever. So for intermediates, they aren't that important in my opinion. You can get away with just doing a few pull-up variations like wide grip and neutral grip, for example. That's what I personally do, right? But for beginners, I definitely would recommend having doing rows, simply because as a beginner, your back muscles are still quite weak, and you're still not going to be able to do. Most beginners can't do more than two free pull-ups, and in order to build up the lats, rhomboids, lower traps, mid traps, rear delts, whatever, as a beginner, you should incorporate rows, some kind of rows. Now, I would recommend doing, if you can, do the neutral grip row or do like the normal grip row, right? Don't go too wide, don't go too close. When you're a beginner and you want to do rows, don't overcomplicate it with the whole variations that you see on YouTube, right? Just do the normal inverted row. Basically, you not hang yourself, you put your arms under a dip bar and you sort of let yourself hang, but obviously you have your feet on the ground and you pull yourself up. So for beginners, inverted rows are a very great exercise. Intermediates and advanced people can do it too, but you're gonna have to either elevate your feet a lot so that they're difficult enough, or you're gonna have to add weight. But this video is mostly about body weight training, and yeah, you don't have weight. So honestly, beginners definitely do this. Intermediate and advanced people, depends on your setup, right? If you want, you can. If you don't have to. Next one would be pistol squats for your legs. Mainly your quads and glutes, right? And also you have some abductors and hip flexors when you do this, right? Pistol squats are basically the only bodyweight squat movement that challenges your legs enough so that they have enough stimuli to grow, right? A normal bodyweight squat, you're gonna have to get to like 40 reps or 50 reps until you reach failure, and that can be very uncomfortable. And also with the pistol squat, you learn single leg control, you learn balance, you learn static hip flexor strength, all of these things that can be very useful if later you want to do skills or you want to very simply improve the functionality of your legs, right? Now for your back, for your hamstrings, you could do leg curls with rings. If you don't have rings, it's going to be quite hard to train the hamstrings, so if I'm being honest. There is this thing called reverse Nordic curls, however I'm not too familiar with it. So if you want, just type in bodyweight hamstring exercise on YouTube, right? I'm not too familiar with training hamstrings with bodyweight. I train them with bands personally, but yeah, depends on, right? Depends on even if you want to train them. I would recommend training them, however. Next one would be ab wheel or leg raise. So if you can't get your hands on an ab wheel, please try and get an ab wheel. They're amazing. They cost like 10, 15, maybe 20 bucks, depends on where you get them, right? And they target your transverse abdominis, which is your deep core muscle. And this muscle actually can make your waist look smaller by sort of pulling your torso in like a corset, right? So this is what this muscle does. However, if you can't get an ab wheel, you can also do the ab rollout on rings. If you don't have rings, just do a leg raise. Or you can also do both. If you have enough time for abs, you can do leg raises and the ab wheel. The leg raise will bias more of the lower abs. And with the leg raise, please make sure that you go above 90 degrees. Simply because until 90 degrees, it's just hip flexor. So it's literally almost just your hip flexor working. And your abs sort of start working after 90 degrees. So basically, when you get your, how do I explain, when you get, yeah, from here to here, well, yeah, after here is when your abs start working, basically. Just imagine that those are my legs. Doesn't matter, right? So, let's end this video with a conclusion again. So, don't train like a bodybuilder. Don't do these crazy EMOM pyramid workouts, whatever. 1000 dips, 1000 push-ups. If you want to build muscle, it's way more effective to just do 2-3 sets to failure per exercise and 3 minutes of rest. Control the negative. This is very important, especially if you get more advanced and you see that you can do way more reps. Controlling the negative is really going to challenge you. And also hold the bottom position for like 1 second. Stick to the basics, and please, if you can, try and get yourself a pair of rings, right? It will change your game. Because first of all, it's way healthy. I mean, I don't think that calisthenics is unhealthy for your joints, but it is healthy. But rings are definitely healthy for your joints. Freedom of movement, you get a bigger stretch, bigger contraction, your anatomy can adjust however you want it. And the most important thing is to stay consistent, right? Pick a program, pick two push exercises, pull up and dip. No, not pull, sorry, push up and dip, and then pick some pulling exercise, either some pull-up variations or pull-up and a inverted row, and please stick to them, right? Be consistent, stick to them for 6 months, a year, 2 years, and you'll see how you will transform your body even with body weight only, right? I know that a lot of YouTube people will tell you, yeah, it's only for beginners, it's impossible to transform your body with body weight, you need a gym, blah blah. Trust me, you don't. I built an amazing physique without weights, and I can tell you, if you stay consistent, if you push yourself hard enough, you too can build muscle without weights, okay? So, with that being said, don't give up, stay consistent, and see you in the next video. Bye.